shot, and his baby and his best friend both die with him. As likely as not, in half of the other.
What do you think of this music?
Are ready to die.
I think it's period correct music. Just hanging out to see who else comes on. Just figured I'd try this live thing out. See how it goes. Just hanging out. There's nobody else on. Let's see. We have 2 people on. Let me see. I'm just kind of delaying and see how many people show up. Move this window. I'm not happy with it. We have 2 people here. Let's see. Much better, but I'll have to look this way. I know I have 2 people on. You were late, young man. Yeah. How's that audio working? Is it working all right today? If it's not, let me know, and I'll correct it. But hopefully the audio is better than the test subject. But let me do a couple little thingies here. And I'm just delaying a little bit to see who calls in. I'm trying to do period correct music. So seeing that this time period we're going to talk about tonight is from the 1960s, I figured we'd have 1960s music. So that's why I decided to go with this 1960s music. I don't see anybody else coming on yet, but it's only 8:32. We'll be fashionably late. Ma and Ba Kettle are here. Well, it looks like they were there, but then they dropped off. But all right. A lot of people are going to watch this post live, and some people will watch it live, but I'm delaying. I don't need to see my face. There we go. So for you guys that watched the first couple of videos, first one was an introduction about what this is all about. Yeah, the live chat will stay online. I'm hoping we'll find out. I don't know what goes on, but we'll see. This is my first time going live on YouTube, so not exactly sure how it works, but we'll see. So people that chimed in, or people that watched the previous videos, know why I'm doing this. It's more of an autobiography, purpose. Maybe people will learn from it, make themselves better. Part of it's therapeutic for me, but it also, I think, gets a message out to people. And the big message is, you may not have a perfect life, but you can make something of it. So as you go through these next several videos, hopefully that all comes to light for everybody. So the second video was basically the beginning. Basically I talked about my mom, my dad. Mom got married at 14, and as a child, basically being a child. Why is it come on? Whatever. Okay, so basically, my mom got married at 14, had me when she was 16, and not to go through everything we did last time, but basically the marriage was over by 17. So you figure mom was 14, 17 years old, is already divorced. You can imagine anybody's got kids that are that age. I don't think you can imagine your kids being that young, having babies and getting married and what have you. But, back then was a very different time than what it is now. So that's going to lead us into the subject for today's video is giving up for adoption. Figure that my parents were kids basically, and when they got divorced, you make adult decisions and have adult situations, and you've got to deal with them. But at 17 years old, mom's at 17, and I think my father's a couple years older than that. But now child support and things play into that, and Frank couldn't afford to pay child support. He's probably 18, 19 years old. He's farm worker, farm laborer. Um, $50 a month is probably big money back then, and hard to come up with. And as I understand it, he had an ultimatum at that point. Is you either pay child support or you put your son up for adoption. So, a lot of you may be thinking that, oh my God, why would you do that? Why would you put your son up for adoption? I mean, you got basically a kid that's being faced with the consequence of going to jail or pay $50 a month that you can't afford. I don't know what would you do in that situation? Since we're live, it's comments can be written, I can respond, but when I was younger, I thought differently. Now that I'm older, and I kind of put a timeline together to get my bearings of what was going on at certain times, and these are kids making adult decisions, and how do you make what was the right decision? Was the right decision not give up your rights and go spend time in jail? Was the right decision do what you did, stay out of jail, and give your child up for adoption? So did they make the decisions that they made? If I was in his shoes at that age, I may have done the same thing. I mean, no guy wants to spend any time in jail, so why would you do that? But second token is, if you have love for your child, why would you give your child up? So it's a tough call. I struggle with that decision that was made a little bit, but as we get into some future videos, you'll probably understand why I don't struggle too much with that. So I was pretty young. I was I think I was a year old when I was given up for an adoption. So surrendered his parental rights. Yeah. So my father surrendered his parental rights. Hey, that's a good one. Parental rights. And I don't know if anybody knows what that means. People that are going to watch that later, is basically surrendering those rights. Basically means he doesn't exist. That I could pass him on the street, I could see him, he could see me, but once you surrender those rights, it's gone. You basically don't exist. You are not the father. If Maury Povich was there, he'd be all, "You are not the father." But we didn't have Maury back then. But that's what it would be. He couldn't claim me. He couldn't. Nobody had to say anything about Frank being who he was, and my name's Stoney Francisco Chavez. Could have been anybody's kid, I guess, at that point, because he surrendered his rights. Now, good thing is, in all of this going on, my mom tried to do the right thing and made sure I kept in touch with family and stayed in touch with grandparents and still saw them, even though Frank gave up his rights, and he's a teenager. He's a young man. He just, I'm not trying to make excuses for him. I'm just trying to sympathize and say, if I was in the same shoes, would I have done the same thing? And I don't know. It's a tough call. Everybody's going to make their own decision. I may have made that same decision. I don't know. It's not my place to judge. What I'm trying to do is kind of put people's perspective of what's gone on with me at a very young age. Some of that may play into, decisions I made later in life. They could play into, who I am today, but, you're a 1-year-old child being given up for adoption, and, you're not starting off, very well. You got the cards stacked against you before you even got started. Adoption is a gripping title, but a little clickbaitish. Still grab my attention. The technical, functional. Okay, it's Friday. It's late. I don't know if I even understand what that means, but grab my attention. But yeah, I was put up for adoption, but more likely I was just given away. It's like I'm going to surrender my rights, and I'm not going to pay the $50. And you could look at it as like, well, screw you, I don't have a son. So I never really knew my father from that standpoint on. As we kind of go through the next few years, next few videos, I have very little memory of him. A few things come to mind, seeing him on weekends, seeing him. I know he got remarried. I remember seeing him with his wife, and but it was, at this age, I'm like 2 years old, so I don't have a lot of memories of him and what happened. I just do a little bits and pieces of remembering who my father was. Um, but one thing I can tell you is in those memories, it's not like it was a loving, caring um, relationship type of thing. It was not, I don't have any positive memories. Let's just put it that way. Um, it was, we were definitely poor. We didn't have a lot of money. It was a lot of, I remember, things like single wide trailers, things not very clean, things not very there. Um, so, it was tough. And, so when they divorced at a young age, mom was there. I was there. I was with my mom. Mom took me pretty much everywhere. Um, it was, the situation my father had to be put in, or not had to be put in, but was put in with, having to make a choice. And so he made his choice, and, mom had to step up, be a single mom, and take care of me. So um, that's kind of where we are. So we're almost 12 minutes into this. I don't want to make these things a half hour long, but we're into video 2, and to kind of summarize where we are with this video, and there'll be the other ones. Some of them are going to be live, some of them are just going to be pre-recorded and posted. Feel free to ask questions or do whatever you want to do offline as well. But the beginning for me, I was born in 1967. So mom was married 2 years before that, and having a child didn't really go very far, after that. And uh, um, next phase of all this is after I've been given up for adoption, by my father. And I guess giving up for adoption isn't the right words. It was, maybe I should retitle this or rephrase this. It does sound kind of bad when I say it that way. um, I think my father gave up his parental rights is more of what it should read, instead of giving up for adoption. So, I can go post edit this and make it read correctly. But um, my father gave up his parental rights, and I was basically raised by my mother at that point on. So I'm going to end this video with basically that. The next video, a lot of people, I've kind of outlaid that Stoney Francisco Chavez is my born given name. Next video, we'll be talking about how Stoney Francisco Chavez became Stoney Allen Root. And we'll start the next phase of videos from that standpoint on to kind of explain that phase of my life. And all this is based on my experiences, my memory. Some of it could be fuzzy. The dates may be a little off. But it's what I recollect. I'm trying to make it as honest and correct as possible. But I'm sure there'll be a few errors here and there that I'll have to correct and address. But that's where we are. Parental rights given up by his father, and next video is going to be how did Stoney Francisco Chavez become Stoney Allen Root? And some people are probably thinking, what? So stay tuned and you'll figure that out and what all that means. So thank you guys for tuning in. That did tune in. There was a few people that dropped off. And I'll be posting a video here probably in the next few days. and I'll either go live Friday night, Saturday night when people are at home, and we'll continue on. But thank you guys. Peace out.